So it seems that it's another fairly big Warhammer 40k release week. Let's talk about the 3 new Discount Combat Patrol box sets and the new characters going up for pre-order. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today we're doing a roundup of the new Warhammer 40k releases, talking through each of Games Workshop's new offerings, some confirmed prices, and what we know about them so far. Games Workshop has been keeping the Warhammer 40k releases coming fairly constantly recently. It feels like they've been going for them roughly every other week, and the next one basically seems to be the roundup of the next 2 chapter-specific Space Marine Combat Patrol boxes and their named characters, the dice sets to go alongside them, but also on top of that we've got the Warhammer Day Jump Captain, in theory a limited miniature, but they said it's going to be sticking around for the Space Marine range in general, and also Combat Patrol Harlequins. Really quite a focused and well-received Eldari box set that seems pretty great to actually finally have a discount deal for them and expand them as a chunk of an army. As for what's not here, we don't have the Suboden Khan solo release. He's coming out in the Combat Patrol first, but then will be along on his own a bit later it would seem. The Crux Terminatus box set with the new Assault Terminators isn't here yet, nor are the new Ultramarines releases with their characters and Combat Patrol. And bear in mind that for the Combat Patrol releases, certainly the White Scars and Iron Hands ones, and I'd guess probably the Harlequins as well. These are likely to be limited edition combat patrols, so basically they'll make a fair bunch of them, but when they sell out they'll be gone. We have had that recently with Combat Patrol Imperial Fists in the UK, initially looking like it was going to be a regular range item, and then them keeping it in stock for a bit before declaring it while stocks last only. Otherwise, for some reason they've also decided to unveil their first Christmas merch releases in early October. A few fun festive things are going to pre-order at the weekend. I wonder if that means that we might be getting kind of close to a Christmas Battle Force box set reveal. And otherwise these box sets do imply that we're going to be getting some rules as well, data sheets for Suboden Khan and Caanok Var, plus very likely some chapter specific detachments for them. As ever, if you were looking to pick up any of the releases at the weekend, then feel free to check out the channel affiliate discount retailers, linked in the video description. Online retailers like them officially stock Games Workshop products, but at a discount, usually between 10 and 20% depending on where you are around the world. Element Games in the UK usually has 15% off or so, Gap Games in Australia 21%, Toy Snowman and Fenris Workshop have savings in Canada, Wargame Portal 15% off in the USA, and Tash and Geldeep 16% off in the EU. Here are the pre-order times for when things go live around the world: midnight Eastern Time over in North America, and then 10 through to midday for the rest of the world. I'd guess that most of the models here will be fairly easy to get your hands on and probably won't sell out super fast, though individual items might go quickly at certain stores depending on how much Games Workshop give them. In any case, a big thank you to anyone clicking on the links and buying through them specifically. It does help to support Warspets Tactics a little bit, though there's plenty of other good discount retailers out there as well. Finally, while on the subject of discount retailers, probably just worth mentioning that Games Workshop's price rises go into effect tomorrow. Plenty of discount retailers have already adjusted their pricing. I think a few of them haven't, including Wargame Portal in the USA. Still seems that they have the 15% off and also the pre-price rise prices until tomorrow. And not go rushing out to buy anything that you wouldn't anyway. But if you were going to buy something either say today or tomorrow, it's probably better pre-price rises if you can. Let's get into the miniatures though, and we'll talk through the 2 character models first before going through the combat patrols. First up, we've got Caanok Var of the Iron Hands. He's a Terminator character of Clan Averni, supposedly the most heavily bionically augmented clan out of any of them, though there is the Iron Hands thing in general. Apparently his exposed left eye being one of the very few surviving bits of flesh on his body. He was a named character from previous lore, though didn't really have such a developed character, and he is an old and seasoned warlord and strategist with a whole bunch of bionic sensors with those servo skulls there, feeding data directly into his mind and then commanding his forces. He's armed with a power tetsu bow, a great big studded war club that's associated with Japan and the samurai, and one of those servo skulls is projecting a mini little Fortress of Redemption as a sort of targeting hologram, which I think is kind of fun. It's nice to see another Iron Hands character in Warhammer 40k. His reception was maybe a little bit more mid than some of the other Space Marine characters. He gave him a 3.7 out of 5 when I put it to a vote. I would agree he feels more like a fairly solid offering, but maybe not a rave review style model. His price is apparently going to be $47, so around about £29.50 or €36, as his prices will be post-price rise. Here's a few more pictures of him, including the cabling and how those servo skulls attach at his back. Hopefully it won't be too long until we find out his rules. Given he's a Terminator character, he's maybe quite likely to be 6 wounds at toughness 5 with their stat line. He should be able to lead either a Terminators or Assault Terminators. If the Tetsubo follows other maces, it might have kind of low AP, but it's probably going to have better strength and damage than the average power weapon. And with his model focus on scanners and command things, his main draw is likely to be his buffing abilities. If they're just something squad locked and it's shooting or something, it might not be the best. but if he could have something like discounted command points or providing range buffs against one target, he could be interesting. Next up, and for the other character solo release, we've got the Jump Captain. He's technically called a Captain with Jump Pack and Relic Shield, and he's essentially an alternative sculpt for the current Jump Pack Captain that we have. That one comes with Power Fist and Pistol. This one instead comes with Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, the iconic Smash Captain build. It was kind of notable that those rules didn't go away with 10th edition, so it looks like that was a hint on the Space Marine HQ character lineup. It still seems like more of an unusual choice to do another alternative Jump Captain sculpt though, when we could have done say a Chaplain or Librarian with Jump Pack. Price wise, apparently he's going to be $43, so that'll make him £27.50 I believe, or around €35, and he does have a weapon option. You can swap that Thunderhammer for a chainsword if you wanted to. Here's some more pictures of him, as well as the Thunderhammer you can swap out for a chainsword. He does have an enclosed helm option, though it's a fairly plain one. I feel like the posing and look of him is nice enough, a fairly dynamic model. Here's the comparison of the new one versus the current one. I feel like out of the two, for the overall posing and feel of the model, I probably prefer the new one. Thunderhammers and Storm Shields are just pretty cool as well. I would bear in mind though that if you have the current one, you could just easily magnetize or convert to the new one. Really quite an easy conversion and not the most essential purchase perhaps. Currently their rules are all on the same datasheet. They would still need to issue an updated datasheet for this guy though, just due to the presence of the chainsword. They don't have an option to equip him with that yet. It does seem kind of hard to imagine that the chainsword is actually going to be a desirable bit of war gear though. They haven't really ever kept them balanced against the fancier power weapons in this edition when you have the option to take one. For his leader rules, he has the standard Captain free battle tactics stratagem and a +1 strength on the charge for his lead units. They're certainly solid enough for the Blood Angels to lead some Sanguinary Guard into battle, or the Raven Guard first turn rapid ingressing a bunch of Vanguard veterans. In any case, the Jump Captain is sort of supposed to be the Warhammer Day miniature. Previously, they've usually been a limited edition miniature that comes and then goes away. Apparently this one's going to be staying as a regular range item, and hopefully could have some fun prospects for some reveals later in the month. Warhammer Day is around the 25th of October, I believe. Next up, let's get on to the discount box sets, and first up we have Combat Patrol White Scars. This will be $170, £105 or €135, and in the box set we have Suboden Khan, 3 Outriders, 5 Assault Intercessors, an Impulsor, and a transfer sheet. This will be the first place to get the White Scars named character for 10th edition, Suboden Khan. He's riding a jet bike with an Onslaught Gatling cannon mounted at the front. He's the captain of the White Scars' first company after the War of Chagoris. He's armed with a power lance and has some fun Mongol-style trinkets and trophies. He was one of the best received out of the recent resculpts of the Space Marine miniatures. You gave him a 4.2 out of 5. We don't know his eventual price yet, given that he's not available for individual release yet, though I guess it to be around about £37 or $60, similar to Lord Marshal Dreyer for the Astra Militarum, and probably in reality a bit more than that, given that that price is pre-price rise. It's certainly cool to have White Scars actually get a biker character though. It feels like that's been a bit too long in coming for the Primaris age. Here's another picture of him with the bike in profile. And again, for rules, we should be getting some digital updates for him at some stage, likely alongside an altered rule version of the White Scars Stormlance. It should be fun to see what his rules are. I guess we could make some good guesses. Probably as a captain, he might well be a 6 wound biker character with toughness 5 and a 4+ invulnerable save for his Iron Halo. He'll be able to lead Outriders, as there's no other choices for him to go with yet, unless he's some sort of weird lone operative. The Power Lance is very likely to be damaged too, with a Lance keyword for +1 to wound on the charge. Perhaps something like a Strength 7 seems to be fairly popular for Lance profiles in-game at the moment, and if he can join the Outriders, then he'll enjoy the +1 damage for them on the charge, maybe up to damage 3. Otherwise, I guess we know the profile for Onslaught Gatling cannons, 8 attacks at strength 5 and damage 1 with devastating wounds. Hopefully they managed to make him an exciting and powerful character in game though. They certainly managed it with Ethon Shan recently, and beyond his raw melee stats, he's likely to have 2 different special rules. Again, hopefully they're impactful ones. Otherwise for the box set, we've got the Outriders, fairly straightforward kits and nice enough Space Marine skirmishers. They maybe wouldn't hurt from a refresh, and having a few more options in the box though. There's 5 Assault Intercessors to ride in the Impulsor. Maybe they could go with Corsaro Khan if you wanted to start a new White Scars army. Reasonable enough infantry with some big rerolls to scrap for the midfield. And then finally an Impulsor. With the price tag on this, it makes up quite a big chunk of the box set. Kind of a Primaris open-topped hover Razorback, and pretty reasonable for delivering assault units by jumping out the front of it. Estimating the points cost at the moment, it looks like it's around about 350 points in the box or so. It depends on Suboden Khan's cost, but unless he's absolutely astronomical in price tag, it's going to be quite a low points box, just due to none of the other units really getting you all that many for the money spent. For the theoretical discount, this one largely based on the pre-price rises, it looks like it'll be around about 29% off, and that looks fairly standard for Games Workshop's combat patrols. Overall, in a recent video looking at the discount kits, you guys gave it below 3 stars out of 5, so not particularly impressed really, and it did seem to be one of the most niche appeal ones, having quite a low points count, and White Scars being fairly niche as Space Marines go, neither of which helped it I think. Feels like the models are nice enough and Suboden was well received. Gameplay wise, everything seems to be solidly usable. I guess having the named character might dissuade some people from getting 2 of them. Overall feels not unreasonable if you wanted Suboden Khan and the other units are useful. If not though, then you could just wait for the solo release. Next up we have the Harlequin Combat Patrol. Again, this one will be $170, £105 or €135. Kind of a surprise Combat Patrol box to turn up for a sort of sub-faction alongside the Death Corps of Kree. Inside this one there'll be the Solitaire, a 6-strong Harlequin troop, 2 Skyweaver jet bikes and 2 Star Weavers that can also be built as Void Weavers. It is nice to see Harlequins get a little bit of love, though as mentioned this one might be a limited stock item like the Space Marine Combat Patrols that have just come out. We don't 100% know yet, but it seems likely that both this and the Death Corps Krieg will turn out to be that. Harlequins in general are perhaps a bit niche in current Warhammer 40k, sometimes seeing some play in the Reaper's Wager. Games Workshop don't seem to have done quite enough to make them work as an army in their own right though with their Ghost of the Webway, at least compared with the majority of the field. The Solitaire is one of the most commonly played competitive units though. He moves super fast and can hit very hard, so quite good utility and some damage, but he could get hit back very hard as a fragile lone operative after. The Harlequin troops are the core squad for the army. You can use one of them as the Troop Master. Again, they're reasonable enough melee infantry, getting some fancy pistols and devastating wound attacks. The Skyweavers have the option of either Zephyrglaives or Star Bowlers, 2 jet bikes for 95 points, for models that may be feeling a little bit on the pricey side for in-game points. And then we've got the Star Weaver or Void Weaver. They do have some crew that you could put on foot if you wanted to try and maximise the Harlequins on foot that you might have. The Star Weaver is good enough for transporting troops into melee. The Void Weaver has its fun sort of pseudo-lone operative protection out to 18 inches, that does pay a premium for the privilege and isn't super hard to kill for the points cost if you can get fire on it. Overall though, partly due to Harlequin units being a bit pricey, you do get really quite a major chunk of an Eldari army in the box set, over 500 points of it, one of the better combat patrols by that metric. Discount wise, it seems to be at least fairly similar to Games Workshop standard for combat patrols, 28% off compared with buying these separately. Overall though, it was a pretty well received kit. You guys gave it a 3.4 out of 5, and people generally seem to be fairly positive about picking it up compared with the rest. The models are a little older, but I think hold up well enough. Feels like it's okay in terms of points and value. Perhaps the main criticism is gameplay at the moment. It would be quite nice if Games Workshop gave the Harlequins a bit more love on that front. Then finally for the main offerings, we've got Combat Patrol Iron Hands. Really quite a weird and not very general purpose Space Marine box set, but not awful if you did need these miniatures specifically. It's $170, £105 or €135, and in this one you get 1 Tech Marine, 2 5-strike servo turrets, and then 10 heavy intercessors. The Space Marine Combat Patrols also have the transfers in, and again they will be while stocks last. I wouldn't be too surprised if the stocks on this one last for quite some time though. A Tech Marine seems appropriate enough to leave. They're usable enough miniatures in game, being cheap support for vehicles. If you've got plenty of vehicles in your army, having one around is fine enough. Heavy intercessors are generally quite well enjoyed as big chunky Gravis models with enormous bolt rifles. They're quite easy to use in game, though kind of rarely make it into competitive lists. You can usually just make the argument that adding extra defense and some slightly bigger bolts isn't quite as good as adding in a powerful special rule, so you see lots of people using, say, infiltrators or intercessors with sticky objectives to hold the home field. They could perhaps have some use, say, for Ironfather Fyros though. Then finally we've got the 5-strike servo turret, a fairly straightforward and simplistic kit with a Tech Marine gunner with a big gun. Most people going for the last Talons here. They've just generally been a bit costly for what they do in 10th edition. Not really terrible firepower, but basically competing with tanks that put out the same sort of firepower and are generally harder to take down with higher toughness and have far better movement than these. They're not unusually bad though, and if you have 2 of them you could consider overwatching with them. For the points in the box, it's kind of mid, around about 405 points, neither super high nor super low. For the discount in the box set, at least in theory land, it's one of the best box sets for that, around about 31% off, though I would kind of qualify that with the heavy intercessors just feeling kind of unusually pricey for what they are. They are a bit bigger and bulkier than the regular intercessors, but it is a bit painful when you get 10 of the regular intercessors and then just 5 of the heavy ones, and the heavy ones directly cost more than 10 regular ones. It does feel like a very weird box set, but if you want a Space Marine defensive line with a whole bunch of bolters, it's not too unreasonable, and it certainly could be possible that Space Marine collectors might not have these exact units in their collection. For that reason it looks like it's being rated as super bad by you guys on the value sort of front at 2.3, but in terms of people actually wanting to buy it, it's kind of similar to the White Scars, even if still looking a little bit behind. In any case, those are the main releases. Alongside the Combat Patrols, we've also got the dice for the Iron Hands and the White Scars. Might be of interest for some people wanting the sort of luxury faction dice feel. And otherwise, they're also putting their Christmas merch range on sale now as well. Seems they've got some squig style baubles and slippers and things, some Warhammer related Christmas jumpers and baubles and stuff, which certainly seems a bit early to be doing at this kind of time of year. In any case though, let me know your thoughts as to the releases and their prices and things. Would you be tempted to pick up any Iron Hands, White Scars, Harlequins or the new Jump Captain? I look forward to hearing your takes down in the comments below. As mentioned, feel free to check out the channel's affiliate discount retailers if you are looking to save a bit on Games Workshop's prices around the world. Here are the times when the pre-order goes live this weekend. And of course a big thank you to anyone happening to pick something up. If you do happen to buy something through the affiliate links, it does help to support Auspex Tactics without costing you any extra. I'll leave that there for now though. Feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming, with new ones out just about every day. If you've been enjoying the videos on the channel, Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link's down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.